offensive line. He's going to step up, and he throws on the run to the end zone, and it is caught.
The first major wave of 2023 NFL roster cuts took place leading up to the opening of free agency. Well, the draft is over and training camp is coming right up, meaning the next busy period of roster cuts is just around the corner. With the draft now behind us, we have a pretty good idea as to which players are in real danger of losing their roster spots. Now, before we start here, just a note that contract numbers and details are courtesy of overthecap.com. So, with that said, let's dive into the 10 biggest NFL names who are in danger of getting cut. Dalvin Cook. The four-time Pro Bowl running back has been the subject of trade rumors since the beginning of the offseason, and it's mostly because of his mammoth contract. In 2020, Cook was handed a 5-year extension worth $63 million. With 3 years remaining on Cook's deal, the Minnesota Vikings might find it difficult to pass on the opportunity to save a lot of money. Cutting Cook would save the Vikings $9 million in cap space, and a trade would save them $11 million. As good as Cook is, his high cap hit is hard to swallow at the running back position in today's NFL. Cook has recorded 4 straight seasons of over 1,000 yards rushing, but this is a pass-first Minnesota offense led by Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and rookie Jordan Addison. Plus, backup running back Alexander Mattison is more than capable of filling in the lead back role, and at a fraction of the price of Cook. Remember, this current Vikings brass wasn't here when Minnie handed Cook the $63 million extension, so they don't owe him any loyalty. With the way his contract is structured, 2023 is the year for Minnie to cut ties with Cook and save money. Whether or not they actually do that is another story, of course. David Bakhtiari. With the Packers entering a retooling year, it makes sense for GM Brian Gutekunst to cut any aging veterans he doesn't see as part of the long-term picture. Well, the worst kept secret in Titletown is that Bakhtiari is nearing the very end of his tenure with the Cheeseheads. The Pack can save a whopping $17.5 million if they release a 32-year-old offensive tackle who played just 24 games over the last 2 years. Or, in an ideal world, Packers find a taker for the 3-time first-team All-Pro and get something for him on the trade market. The healthy Bakhtiari could make a difference somewhere, and he should even be motivated to pursue a championship elsewhere in the final stretch run of his career. The Packers are usually very good at knowing when it is time to move on from a veteran player. Given Bakhtiari's age, injury history, and enormous cap hit, why wouldn't they want to cut ties now? It just makes way too much sense for these two sides to just move on at this point. Joe Mixon. If Mixon didn't miss 3 games in 2022, he likely would have hit 1,000-yard rushing for the 4th time in his career. In 14 games, he still finished with 814 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, and 1,255 total yards of offense. But with the likes of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase soon needing massive extensions, the Bengals will need to free up every dollar that they can. Releasing Mixon saves $10 million in cap space, and considering he's now an injury-prone player at a devalued position, well, since he has good reason to cut the cord now. Many actually thought that the Bengals would waste no time cutting Mixon once the new league year began. But here we are, post-draft, and he remains atop the running back depth chart. At least for now. Cincinnati used a 5th-round draft choice on Illinois product Chase Brown, who had nearly 1,900 yards of offense in his final year of college. So, yeah, pretty sure he'd be up for a workhorse role if the Bengals wanted to hand it to him. Like Cook, Mixon wouldn't have a problem generating lots of interest on the open market. But it's not hard to find good running backs anymore, and the Bengals can easily get by without him. Patrick Queen. The Baltimore Ravens declined the 5th-year option on Queen's rookie deal, which is obviously their nice way of telling him it's now or never. But what if never comes before now? That is, what if the Ravens decide to cut ties with Queen before week 1? Surprisingly, it's not out of the question. It just felt like a perfect fit when the Ravens landed the workhorse LSU linebacker 28th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. But he hasn't been much of a playmaker at the professional level, and Queen has especially been a giant liability in coverage. Queen has just 10 sacks through 3 seasons and earned a Pro Football Focus grade of below 50 in his rookie and sophomore seasons. And per Pro Football Reference, Queen has allowed a completion percentage of over 75% in each of his first 3 seasons when targeted. The Ravens handed trade deadline pickup Roquan Smith a 5-year extension worth $100 million. 2022 second-rounder David Ojabo is going to enjoy a bigger role. Plus, Baltimore found a potential steal in Clemson's Trenton Simpson with the number 86 pick in this year's draft. Throw in the presence of the underrated Tyus Bowser, and Baltimore has more than enough linebacker depth to move on from Queen. And because he is on a rookie deal, cutting Queen would cost pennies in dead cap money. La'el Collins. The Bengals picked up the standout offensive tackle on a 3-year deal worth $21 million in 2022 free agency, following his release from the Dallas Cowboys. Collins was one of 3 new starters the Bengals added to the O-line, along with Ted Karras and Alex Kappa. But Collins had a forgettable first year in Cincinnati, allowing 5 sacks while committing a whopping 8 penalties. Collins is now expendable, and the reigning AFC runner-ups can save just over $7.7 million in 2023 if they cut Collins, along with another $7 million in savings against the cap in 2024. Seems like a pretty logical move to cut a guy who is merely a backup on this stacked Cincinnati roster. Kendrick Bourne, a speedy wide receiver who's entering the final season of a 3-year, $15 million pact he signed with the New England Patriots back in 2021. Many actually thought that Bourne would be released earlier this offseason, but Bill Belichick was content to watch Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers leave for greener pastures in free agency. So, for now at least, Bourne is still on the roster. Bourne had a career year for the Pats in 2021, recording 55 receptions for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. But his numbers dropped big time in 2022, hauling in just 35 catches for 434 yards and 1 touchdown. Cutting Bourne saves the Patriots a cool $5.455 million, considering they have 2023 free agent signing Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, sophomore speedster Tyquan Thornton, rookie Kayshon Boutte, and veteran tight end Hunter Henry. I think they're more than set on pass-catching options. Pretty safe to say that the Patriots really don't need Bourne anymore. He's expendable now, and Bourne should be keen on finding a bigger role elsewhere, which is why this seems like one of the more likely roster cuts we can expect to see over the next few months. Dwayne Brown. We were surprised when the New York Jets passed on the opportunity to address the offensive line in round 1. And instead of giving Aaron Rodgers more help up front, the Jets used their first-round pick on Iowa State edge rusher Will McDonald IV. So, barring a change of plans, and there very well could be a change of plans, the Jets will roll into 2023 with the injury-prone Mekhi Becton and a 38-year-old Dwayne Brown as their starting offensive tackles. But we're still skeptical that the Jets are actually serious about starting Brown at tackle again, especially when you consider the fact that the Jets could save $9.705 million in cap space if they just cut the 5-time Pro Bowler. PFF graded Brown at just 57.8 in 2022, which shows he is merely average and a very replaceable player at this point in his career. So, if you're the Jets, why wouldn't you cut a past his prime veteran and open up all that cap room to address other needs? Here's a crazy idea. What about cutting Brown and reuniting Rodgers and David Bakhtiari by trading for the latter? Corey Davis. Dwayne Brown isn't the only New York Jet who appears to be on the chopping block. Corey Davis could very well be joining him as well. After a career year with the Tennessee Titans in 2020, the 6'3" wideout signed a 3-year deal with the Jets worth $37.5 million in 2021 free agency. Awful quarterback play has not helped by any means, but Davis just hasn't produced in Gotham whatsoever. Through his first 2 seasons as a Jet, Davis had 66 total receptions for 1,028 yards and 6 touchdowns. So much for being the 1,000-yard receiving threat we saw in Music City. Davis is entering the final year of his contract and shouldn't expect many targets in 2023, even with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. 2022 Offensive Rookie of the Year Garrett Wilson will be the go-to receiver going forward. That is a given. The Jets also brought aboard 2 of Rodgers' old Green Bay pals in Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. Next, Chief speedster Mecole Hardman, who was added in free agency, should also make an impact on that offense. Cutting the seldom-used Davis saves the Jets $10.5 million in cap space. That would open up a lot of room to add additional impact players to help a team that is suddenly in win-now mode, don't you think? Jerry Hughes. After a 9-year run with the Buffalo Bills, Hughes signed a 2-year deal with the Houston Texans in 2022 worth $10 million. The veteran edge rusher turned back the clock and racked up 9 sacks for Houston last season, his highest total since 2014. But considering he's now entering his age 35 season, along with the fact he played just 59% of the team's defensive snaps in 2023, regression seems inevitable. There is just no way a rotational player in his mid-30s gets that close to double-digit sacks again. And let's not forget that Houston grabbed Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. at number 3 overall in the April draft, making Hughes even more expendable. Cutting Hughes would save Houston $3.5 million in free agency while opening the door for Anderson Jr. and other youngsters to take on more playing time. We're not saying the Texans absolutely should release Hughes, but a team in rebuilding mode does have good reason to cut ties now and focus on developing their younger defensive linemen. Malik Willis. The Tennessee Titans selected the Liberty dual threat signal caller in round 3 at number 86 overall a year ago. At the time, it felt like excellent value, since some projected Willis to be a late first or early second round pick. But the Titans obviously did not like what they saw in Willis during his rookie year. He saw 8 game appearances and made 3 starts, barely completing over half his pass attempts for 276 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 picks. The Titans had such little faith in Willis that even with Ryan Tannehill out for the year, they rolled with Josh Dobbs and his 1 career start in their winner-go-home game against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 18. And in case you missed it, the Titans got great value by trading up and snagging Kentucky Wildcats quarterback Will Levis with the number 33 selection in this summer's draft. Tannehill is entering his contract year, so the situation is perfectly set up for Tennessee to transition over to Levis in 2024. Look, add everything up and you can probably see where we're going with this. There obviously is not a need for the Titans to keep Willis around, and they haven't really made it a secret either. If starting Dobbs over him wasn't already the writing on the wall, drafting Levis was. The Titans may as well give Willis the fresh start he deserves. Maybe he finds his footing and succeeds in a new system, like Tannehill did after leaving the Miami Dolphins. If Tannehill struggles or gets injured again, it'll be Levis's time to shine. They simply don't have much use for Willis heading into 2023, so don't at all be stunned if he's one of the next notable players to get tossed back into the free agent market before training camp. But which other big-name NFL players could get cut with the draft now over? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.